Oh, where are you going? I know you were
I
talking
don't
about
know.
moving a couple times.
Yeah, I'm actually don't know. It's kind of in flux right now, which is a little bit of the stressful part. So, at my work, they are opening a new office in Seattle. Um, that is actually will be is they're opening it for specifically to do a C4, which is basically like a lobbying office, so they can actually participate with like actual politicians. Because as of right now, we're in OC3, which is can only uh we can't really do any political things. We can send lobbyists on represent as representation to them, but we can't have our own lobbying office. And so they're making a
What's the
separate
difference
entity.
between having a lobbying office and sending a lobbyist?
So we can't directly donate or engage. There are certain rules. Like as a place, we can basically hire lobbyists, um, but we can't have our own lobbying office. So it's essentially having your own like basically in-house stuff that you control
Okay.
versus having a kind of a firm, I guess. Because right now what they do is they have a lobbying, which they'll still work with. A lot of these guys, you'll see them that they might not even be called lobbyists. They'll be called like counselors or just different. They have different titles. But right now what they want to do is open an actual lobbying office. That they will hire somebody that'll run the office over there. And so
And their
that
main purpose would be to go to like Washington, D.C. or all the big political events and be like, this is our concern. This is what we need. This is what our desires are. That type of guy.
Exactly. Yeah, being able to lobby for not only us, but also for tribes and native communities and things like that. I think that's how they would make money to actually be partly nonprofit, partly a money-making one, where basically, tribes or different organizations would work together and kind of fund that stuff. And so that is what I want to do. That's what I've been wanting to do. I've actually been talking with a lawyer over the last couple of months. She is we talked about going back to law school. She has actually advised I don't go to law school and just and do what I'm doing. Because she said I don't need to be a lawyer to be a lobbyist.
No, that
Um,
makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, she said basically with the skills I have now, with the connections I'm making now, are actually much more valuable than anything a classroom will give me. She introduced me to a couple people who don't have law degrees that are actually lobbyists right now. And then there's a lady. She's like the native version of like Ruth Gator Bader Ginsburg. She is a very well respected person, like
Okay.
all over the country. And so I had a meeting with her, and then I'll have another one, and she's going to give me some advice as well. And so with this new office opening, they just announced it last week. Um, I am going to ask if it's possible if I get start work over there, even if it's on like a trial basis, or if I can do something over there. And if I can, because they're going to offer me this other
Like
new job that
internship as a lobbyist.
is something, yeah, something to that effect. If I can help even volunteer, or if they can actually get me work over there, because part of lobbying, apparently, which I'm just learning all of it, is actually just knowing people and having them like you. It's just like sales. It's like you're trying to convince them to vote one way or another or do things, and they
Yeah.
don't actually. Yeah, politics is actually very weird. It's not actually like this one-to-one
Oh,
thing.
politics is a position contest. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Popularity.
you're trying to talk to the guy that's like the mayor's aide and convince him to let you talk to the mayor and then get in his ear. You know what I mean? They want you to like them. Everybody wants to be
Yeah.
liked. Um, and so that's what I'm trying to get into. And so when I talked to the one lady, she told me if I want to be a lobbyist, and especially starting out, I wouldn't be doing anything federal. So the best place I can be is actually is in Salem because it's the capital. Said I'd be down at the Capitol building a lot, especially early on. But the building is being the new building is going to be in Seattle, where our basically head of our lobbying department will be. And so that's kind of my thing is up in flux. I'm supposed to be taking this new position.
Because I was just about to
Um,
say, weren't you getting a promotion here soon? Or like
yes,
in the
yes,
midst of it?
yes. We're in influx right now. So they halted it because a bunch of stuff went on. Part of it was a new lobbying thing like that, and the one guy getting fired was a bunch of stuff. And so, but they're actually supposed to this tomorrow actually at 4. I'm supposed to have my interview, which the interview is just a formality at this point because they've already xed out the other two guys that they were interviewing.
Hmm.
They just didn't want
You
them.
gotta follow the red tape.
Yeah, yeah. So my direct supervisor wasn't supposed to tell me that, but she's like, "There's no one left. It's just you." Like, and they
You're in a
already were.
race of one. Like,
Yeah,
I'll
so
get first place.
yeah, so I can walk to this bitch. So if I want the job, it's essentially mine. But I want to talk to them about this, and I might turn that down, um, which would probably mean less money, but more inclined what I actually want to do.
And probably a larger ceiling for you, right? If you're going into lobbying, you'll probably be able to get more money versus just
What
progressing in your current position.
that is probably true. Yeah, I know lobbying for like tribes and stuff makes less money than like if you're lobbying for corporations, obviously. But yes, I'm hoping though at some point there'll be more money. Because yeah, I am at a ceiling with contracting, and honestly, this isn't really my passion. I like doing it. I like helping people, but the part I like more about it is the organizing and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to you know getting people together on to come to the table.
It's the
And right now, I
puzzle
have
aspect of it.
exactly, yeah, yeah, and I do that a lot. I just have no power, to make any of these decisions. Whereas if I was put in the lobbying position, I actually have power to make decisions.
Yes, that'd be good.
Um,
Which, I mean,
yeah, and so
speaking of, now that Trump is going to be our next president, I bet you the lobbying system is going to get shooken up quite a bit. I mean, with RFK, one of his first things he was saying was that he was going to try to get lobbying out of the FDA, EPA, the big pharma, and how all three of those organizations are working together. So hopefully that type of thing happens.
yeah, RFK
Oh,
is a
he's
fucking
crazy.
idiot.
They put
Is
Brainworm in charge of health. It's wild, but it's where we're
no,
at.
yeah, yeah, no. People he's talking about getting lobbying out of it is the same thing as people talking about getting sales out of things, right? It, it's
Yeah.
just not going to
Well, I
happen.
mean, he's big on like no pharmaceutical commercials. Like we're one of the few countries that allow that. So making it so that pharmacies can't direct advertise at you.
Mm,
He's talking about getting a lot of the already internationally banned chemicals, like a lot of the yellow 4, red 40, benzapine, all those things, to get those out of our foods. And I'm like,
mm.
that makes sense. So I have hope that they make good choices, but
Well,
history has shown us otherwise.
yeah, we'll see. I have no hope in him. Someone that is he's super anti-vax.
Yeah, he is.
So I think all of and if he tries to do any good, all of that will be overturned by his bad because I mean, anti-vax to me just is anti-science, anti-actual medicine.
He
The doctors,
wants, at least he said, that he wants to go back to empirical science, where we're just going off of evidence based and facts based science.
it,
But anti vax people aren't really set up for that.
no, yeah, and that's what I mean is I don't trust people like that. Sure, you can think things like that, and he seems rational. My uncle seems rational and still thinks fucking ivermectin works.
There's
But if you talk to
there's a lot easier to use the lip service of science versus actually walking the steps of science.
Yeah, well, it's people like him, like Robert Kennedy is talking about going back to empirical data, right? But Joe Rogan also believes that. But the problem with these guys is that they think they know better than the scientists because they can read something and it's like you don't even have a fucking clue what you're talking about. And I know that because I don't have a fucking clue either. You know who does is the guys that do the science, the
Well,
experts.
that's also the other
You're
thing. They'll be like, look, I have one study that says that all those other studies are wrong. Told you I
yeah,
was right. And you're like, that's not
exactly.
how science works.
It's their arrogance, and I do believe Robert F. Kennedy is arrogant, because I think being anti-vax, when the majority of scientists are telling you, hey, this is something that works, is the utmost arrogance. It's the you know what I mean. Obviously, you can make your own decisions. You don't want to take it, whatever, don't take it. But
I do
and
think
if you
that's a
think it's
big
a
thing for him though, is his anti-vax is anti-mandatory vax. Like I think he wants it so that if you want your toddler to go get the full sweep of vax, you should be allowed to. But if you don't want your toddler to get a full sweep of vax, you shouldn't be forced to.
but the thing is if someone like him, right? If you're in a leadership position, right, which I mean
Mm-hmm.
now he's going to be,
Oh yeah.
it's like Trump, right? When in 2020 or 2019, when all that stuff hit, if Trump had come out and said, "Hey guys, it's us against COVID," please go out and take your vaccines. The world would be united. That's all he had to do.
Yeah.
He had a responsibility to do that, knowing that because you're not an expert in this, right? These are your experts that are coming out. You're experts at the CDC. You're experts across the world telling you, hey, this is what we think with the best data we have, and we know this will help people the best we can. And he said in his arrogance, nah. I don't have any evidence for it, but I just feel like it's
Nah.
dangerous.
Just nah.
Yeah,
Let's not
yeah.
do that. We're not
And
dealing with coughing and COVID.
and so people like Robert Kennedy, who they're like, well, I want everyone to have a choice. It's like, well, you are a leader, a political figure, and you have no data to suggest that the vaccines are dangerous to people, but you're just going to say, well, I don't think I should take them. He's
The
anti-vax.
data they have is just the rising of autism rates and like ADHD and obesity and stuff like that. They use that as correlated data instead of
Yeah,
causation data.
yeah. Couldn't be the extra pollutants, the plastics, microplastics in us. Nothing,
Oh, 1,000 reasons. I mean, to be fair,
Yeah,
red 40, yellow 4, or yellow 6, the other like crazy food dyes that he does want to get rid of do show to have those side effects.
with
But
those
it's
things,
that combined with his other ideologies that makes it kind of dangerous.
America has one of the safest food stores though in the world. Like, I mean, I know people bring that stuff up all the time, but the reality of it is America, like, we are one of the best tested and safest foods you could eat. If you go
Oh,
to
yeah.
even other first world countries. And so I mean, the red stuff like that, like, sure, maybe there's a reason someone else banned it. I know I watched this video. This lady was she was some sort of a food scientist and was explaining. I don't. It wasn't red 40 or anything like that, but it was something. And it was one of those typical things people always say about, like, well, look at all these things that are banned. And she went over, like, she went into the specifics of this one thing, and she's like, I can't. I wish I remembered the video because it was really cool to watch her explain it. She's like, this is why. And it was a very reasonable explanation. It was like why it's banned in these countries and not banned here because it's a different thing and then you use it for something. You know what I mean? And so there was a logical, reasonable explanation for why the scientists said, "Hey, you don't need to ban this here." It wasn't some, fucking big conspiracy theory.
Okay.
And I do agree there are going to be some conspiracy theories where corporations are just going to pay a bunch of money to not get things banned. But like I said, I was under the same in
That's how
Richmond.
lobbying works.
Exactly, yeah. But when people come to them with facts, and honestly, I wish lobbying wasn't the thing because I wish they would just ask their subject matter experts and say, "Hey, doctor, what do you think we should do about heart disease?" And they're like, "This is what I think because I've been doing this for 20 years." And they're like,
Well,
"Cool, that's the best."
now that the Chevron doctrine has been overturned, that's out of the
Yeah.
window.
Oh, 100%. I mean, these people, I was thinking about all the ramifications yesterday. As
Go off.
that's why I'm not working. Yeah, I'm not working today because I took the day off. Because yesterday I was thinking about the ramifications. I was very, very sad. And then last night the exit polls came out, show the demographics that voted, and I took the day off because I was very
Mostly
angry.
white men and women and Hispanic men.
Hispanic men and Native Americans, heavily. Native Americans voted at a higher percentage for Trump than white people did.
Really? I have not seen that anywhere. Not on my feed, at least. That's
Huge,
so
huge
interesting.
percentage. What happened?
Why?
Well, is they just didn't vote, and the ones that did vote voted Trump.
Okay.
So there was I think, like, I can't remember the percentage. It's very, very low percentage of Native Americans voted, and the ones that did vote went Trump. And it's very heartbreaking because last election cycle, the one of the key reasons he won Arizona was because of Native Americans. They have 9% population there, and then one of the not the key, but one of the reasons they was in Mexico. Biden also took was also because Native Americans. They had power in those states, and this time around they decided to sit it out, and I was very unhappy with my people, both my
And
Mexican side and my
and definitely very impactful for the world stage at that point. Just like
yeah.
the Pennsylvania Dutch, the Amish community pulled
Yeah.
out. Have you heard about this?
Mm.
how Trump basically, during the Biden administration, a dairy farm was raided by the feds because they were selling unpasteurized milk, which the Amish have done for decades on decades.
Mm.
And the Amish considered that a direct attack on their culture and their community. And so they had a huge campaign to get all the Amish registered, and then pretty much all voted in unison for Trump. Like over 200,000 Amish people showed up and voted for Trump. And Trump
Yeah.
only took Pennsylvania by like 250,000 votes. So the
Yeah.
Amish basically flipped that coin, just like the Native Americans not showing up.
Gaza too. The Gazans, Middle Eastern, Arab, Muslims in Michigan. I did not know this. Or I learned this when I went to Detroit. The one of the biggest festivals, not just in America for Middle Easterners, but in the world, is held in Detroit.
Really?
They have a huge population over
Why do they
there.
have such a huge population in Detroit?
I don't know. It's Michigan in general because it's not
Okay.
just Detroit. What's their other big? I don't remember their other big city, but their other big city is actually majority Middle Easterners.
That
Their
is
second biggest city.
unusual.
Yeah, I know. But it's like it's not Ohio, not other. It's all. When I went to Detroit, like I said, if you go to in Detroit, there's so many restaurants that have Middle Eastern like sway to them. And instead of having like a bunch of Mexican restaurants, you'll see a bunch of Middle
It's all
Eastern
Middle
stuff.
Eastern and like
Yeah, which
Indian
we thought
and
was really interesting. I was like, that's really cool, you know. On my
bunch of
Uber driver every
Euros and
time.
a bunch of Euros in Michigan. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. But what happened this time though is kind of the similar thing with the Amish is is people came out and said because Kamala Harris didn't directly try to stop what's going on in Gaza, that they were going to vote against her. They came out and said, you vote a vote for Kamala Harris is a vote against our culture. You won't be allowed. Yeah. When Trump said
But Trump is so pro-Israel as well,
he said he was
by
going to
a
come and
lot.
finish the job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, I mean it makes no sense. But the stupidity of these of the leaders there within their group got all these people rallied these people to vote against, and that's a big part of the reason she lost Michigan. Because
When
Detroit is a heavy blue state.
when he took Georgia, I was like, ugh, okay, that makes sense. Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin all turning red as well. I was like, oh, he won this one.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's why part of why I was so sad the other day when I texted you. I was like, I don't know if I even want to try to help people anymore. Is because this is our country, right? They showed us who they are. Like I remember what it was growing up. Is like a lot of my uncles on my Mexican side, and even on my native side, they're very that fucking alpha male machismo bullshit. You can cheat on your wife, you can beat your wife type shit. And I think a big part of this was literally had nothing to do with what they think about the economy, anything like that. I think about it was just sexism.
Yep. I
They
think that's a
literally
huge part of it. People didn't
would
want a woman in charge of them.
they refuse. They would rather vote for a fucking man that hates them than a woman that is the most overqualified person for this job. There is no one that's been so qualified to be the president of the United States.
Bush, Obama, Biden.
None
Maybe
of them.
Biden is the same level of qualified just because he's been in politics for 100 decades. But other than
Yeah,
that,
and that's what why you knew it was sexism because you hear all these people talking about she slept her way to the top. She's not qualified to do this. She's not ready for the job. It's like who is? If not,
if she's
she,
not, who is? Yeah.
yeah, she was a fucking
I think a huge issue with Kamala Harris and the whole Democratic Party is that they didn't move left. They moved center and right. And they
oh yeah.
lost. They lost the rabid left vote that we have in this nation. They lost the socialist. They lost the independent. They lost the people who want the betterment of everybody.
That's they didn't lose anybody. They what they well I guess they did lose people. What
Because they didn't want to show
there
up and
was
vote. They'd say, I won't vote for anybody because I don't
exactly
want either.
exactly they didn't excite anybody to vote. And yeah, I mean, she had her plans out, right? But she didn't market them well because
Mm-mm.
people kept asking, "What are her policies? What are her policies?" But she just kept bitching about Trump, you know. And you're like, I don't want to hear about Trump. I want to hear what you want to
Hey,
say. I
this is
want
your
what he's
time.
done.
Tell us what you think. Well, Trump is
Yeah,
bad.
and I
All
think they
right.
ran, yeah, and her, I think one of her most foolish things she could have done is really speak out against Israel and distance herself from Biden on his politics on that.
If she would have gone full end the genocide, fully uh, back the blue or whatever it was, going, I'm gonna be pro peace on all fronts. Like, let's do this. Let's reinvest capital into our welfare systems. She would have had so much of the left vote that California wouldn't have looked almost red this time around.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's well, and I think the thing is too is I'm starting to believe that leftists and Democrats, everybody that does that helps people needs to start putting their fucking stamp on it because people are stupid. They don't know where their money comes from.
Yeah.
The CARE Act was one of Biden's things, and it helps so many people.
Hmm.
The Build Back Better, all this money that's coming in, and people are so excited about these
All the
new
construction we're
construction
doing
jobs.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all Biden, and they want to repeal his CHIPS Act.
And you know what's
It's
going to be
already in
crazy?
process.
The Republicans are going to step in. The economy is going to be on an upward swing. Infrastructure is on an upward swing. And they'll be like, look at all the work we did.
Yeah, and this is what I mean is people are too stupid to know what's actually happening. You can't just come in with a wand and do things.
It
But this
takes
time
it takes
around, though,
time. It takes
it
years
does.
of effort and dedicated focus to get things moving. And then you can
Well,
have somebody step in and just take it.
this time around, though, his tariffs, if he actually wants
Flat
to put,
20% on everything is wild.
he's going to start a fucking an economic war with countries, even our
Yeah,
allies.
for sure. He absolutely will. I mean, everybody you meet, every person in America will feel this as soon as he's elected. Probably even right before he's elected, too.
The last time they tried this, the communities that were hit the hardest and first, they tried this once, I think in, what was it? When was his first presidency? In 2012, right?
2016.
2016. He did something similar to China with their pig farmers. In response, they did the same thing to pork in America. The people that were hit first were the small pig farmers in rural cities. They got hit the hardest first. It's gonna happen again. They're gonna be the first ones to feel it. It's these
But now
rural
this time it
communities.
won't be pork. It will be all.
Everything, yeah. And I hope they feel it. And I don't know. Part of me, like, I never try to wish bad on people, but I want them to feel the pain this time. I want people to start. They're gonna start losing like one of the things that upset me right now is one of my buddies that I play volleyball with. I've known the guy, almost 10 years now. Is sitting in a ICE detention center right now over in Tacoma. And we have just come to the realization right now. It was we were trying to find him because they have their lawyers or whatever. But
But
they're
they're
just like
so overworked.
yeah,
They
yeah, they're
got
public
thousands of
defenders.
cases. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the best ways, the two things you can do other than take their public
Hundreds.
defenders
Yeah.
is either go to a nonprofit and they have lawyers that are usually a little better and have more resources to help, or if you have a bunch of money. No, I don't have a bunch of money. So we went to the nonprofits and they basically said they're backed up too, but they can help. But they're more focused on getting families back together, which makes more sense. That he's a single dude. He has a girlfriend, but she's
Kids,
American.
married
Yeah.
couples. Yeah.
After that, though, the after Trump's election, uh, immigration lawyers are going to be even more. They're already gearing up to be more pressed. Like there's already we're
What
doing
is
that. So
it? They
we
wanted to deport 30 million illegals, right?
yeah, it's impossible to do it, but
Oh, and the thing that has absolutely sent a massive shiver down my spine. He says he wants to repeal the Right of Citizen by Birth Act for anchor babies, which means even if you're born on U.S. Soil, you're not considered a U.S. citizen. The naturalization laws that were, enacted with Obama and
yeah,
before, I think that's the worst thing. That's the absolute worst thing.
it's stupid.
To be able to pick and choose, you're a citizen, you're not a citizen. Oh, sorry, your dad came over illegally. So technically, because you lived here for 20 years, you still got to go over to Puerto Rico. Like, what?
Yeah, and
Or Cuba or wherever.
all these fucking pick me Mexicans, these Latinos that that couldn't vote for a woman, they're about to see their people get deported because they think because life's been so comfortable, you know. It like I hate a lot of these guys in the minority communities. they want to be white so bad. They think they're part of the game. They think they're part of they're like, hey, we're on one team, and they're not. And I know it's true because I've seen people like this native guy I know. He posted this thing on Facebook with like, it's okay to be white because he said people always want to blame white people. It's okay to be white, and I'm like, you're not white. That's not for you. Like you're a Native American man. You're a dark skinned Native American man. When when the pipeline in North Dakota was being built, the reason they shifted it through tribal land is because it was going to be around, not through, but kind of in the area of an all white city that had a lesser population than the tribal land. They were going to build it right fucking smack through, and they did it because fuck them, fuck Native Americans, right? They're
They
less
say, but we're
important than
not
white
going to put
people.
this leaky pipe right next to the white cities. We'll
Yeah, we'll put
toss
it.
it through the native land.
Yeah, and so
That's
people like him,
horrible.
like you think you're more important. You think you're just as important to these actual racists because they're. I know all white people aren't racist, but the people that are some of these guys up top, they literally don't think we're not them. I'm like, dude, yeah, it's
The
frustrating.
dehumanization is so much easier to do when you're filthy, filthy, filthy rich.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because
we're
already you look at people who are poor as less than you. So then you might as well look at people who are not the same color as you as not even being a poor, right?
yeah we're curiosities. We're pets. We're not like your we're not their friends. We're not in their inner circle. And these guys like
They
that.
Oh, I was watching the Republican victory speech and stuff like that, right? When Trump came out the other day. And I noticed how everyone lined up, and it was like a sea of just white faces, except for JD Vance's wife, who he specifically took and moved her behind him. So it was just a line of everybody else, and then the only face of color was behind him, covered by other white
Yeah,
people. And I was just like, yep, that's exactly
yeah,
what's going to be happening.
yeah. Why not? That's what it is, you know. I am I felt like, and it's not even just like the damage they're gonna do. The thing that pisses me off is just people were unable to empathize, especially all these Christian people. They're unable to empathize, right? Because like in Oregon, we're gonna be we're gonna be pretty fine, right? In Oregon, Washington, we're gonna be
Only
pretty
because we're
okay.
anchored by Salem and Portland and
Yeah,
Eugene. Like, that's
yeah,
the only
exactly.
reason why we'll be fine with abortion rights and like marijuana and healthcare and Clean Air Act, all that
Oh,
stuff.
exactly. Yeah. If you look at the Oregon ballot, it was pretty much blue all the way down. Same thing with California, Oregon, Washington. We're going to be pretty fine here. Everything that happened that we wanted to happen happened. Um, but that doesn't mean I can't empathize with women that are terrified in Kentucky and Texas and with Latinos that are scared in fucking Texas to get pulled back over the border, place they haven't been in 20 years. My buddy that's sitting in an ICE detention center. I talked to my other friend the other day who also knows him, and we're like, we will probably never see him again
Yeah.
because his options. They literally told him, hey, your options are this. This is how bad our immigration system is, by the way. Um, he filed a paperwork a year and a half ago to update his process, and they told him it's still processing because they're so far behind. A year and a half they could not process his
A
paperwork.
year and a
A
half?
year and a half they're still waiting on it. So he has to go to meetings. He has to go to meetings. I can't remember how often a month, but he has to go to them. One time he couldn't go because the dude works like fucking 14-hour days on a roof during the summer because there's no work for that type of work in the winter. So he has to do all the summer. He was so tired and couldn't get off work that he called them and told them he couldn't be there. And then the next day he went in and was like, hey, I missed my meeting yesterday. And they arrested him
Because he missed one meeting?
because he
Like,
missed the meeting.
no
Yep.
drugs, no crime, no
No
anything else
drugs,
like
no
that.
crime,
Just,
no missed a meeting, and now he's in an ICE detention center. And they told him, your choices are this: you can either wait here for your lawyer to get catch up and do things, which there are people sitting in there right now that have been there 9+ years in an ICE detention center. Yes, as they said, you
oh,
can basically serve
wow.
a prison sentence, waiting and hoping someone will help you out here, or you can choose to be deported back to Mexico, where he hasn't been in 20 years, so he has no life there, no friends, no family. Once you're deported, though, you cannot apply for citizenship again. The paperwork he already filled out a year and a half ago for 10 years.
So sit in a prison cell for 10 years or go live in Mexico for 10 years and
Yeah.
probably still not ever be able to come back to America.
Yeah, and yes, and once you serve that 10 years, there's almost no chance you can get back in. Once you're deported, you're essentially almost never have a shot at coming back.
Oh, here's something that just popped back into my mind now that we're talking about long-term effects of a single action. Trump is probably going to be able to put 2 more Supreme Court justices on the Supreme Court, which means
Yeah.
we'll probably have a Trump Supreme Court till 2050.
7 of them.
7 out of 9. Yeah.
For basically, yeah. The rest of our like adult, like, you know, actually being active voting lives.
That's going to be the Supreme Court probably till 2050. He'll probably pick somebody in their late 40s, early 50s, and they'll probably sit on there for 40 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
Horrifying. And this is what I mean is I don't think people are feeling the gravity of what's happening yet, and they don't because they're too stupid. They thought a lot of these guys they're cheering and they're like, "Oh, you guys are crying, get over it, we won." This isn't a football game. Things are about to happen, and we're all in the same boat. So it's like, hey, bitch, you think he likes you? You're in poverty. He doesn't like you. He likes you slightly more than he likes me because you voted for him.
Sorry, you don't have 7 digits in your bank account? Why am I talking to you?
Yeah. He doesn't care about you. One of the other big things is Lena Khan is about to get unseated now. She works in the not Department of Justice.
I'm bad with names. I don't know who this is.
She is the one that stopped the merger between Kroger and Albertsons.
Oh, okay, that was a massive one. Is she the Attorney General?
Not the Attorney General. It's not the Department of Justice. I can't remember her actual title. But
we got her name. That's what matters.
Yeah, but she is a the last 8 people in her position have all gone on to within a year of leaving that position work for big corporations, and they've all only stayed in the position about a year or 2. So basically, what these guys are doing is going to the position and not doing anything to corporations because corporations are like, hey, don't do anything, we'll give you a really nice job afterwards, and they're like, yeah,
we'll just let you live a cushy life. Yeah,
she came in and actually, and they were like, hey, we're gonna merge just like everybody's been doing, and no one's been stopping us, and she said no. And then she came out and said, I want to be in this position for 10, 20 years. And everyone said, oh, fuck. And they're like, and she has been, it's not just them. She's been fucking with everybody, with Apple, with Amazon. She is a war hawk on these guys. Is absolutely is actually
for the American people.
For the American people. She's fighting corporations.
That's what we like to hear.
That are like the billionaires are taking over the country. Like, yeah, you're letting them. You let a New York billionaire, and she's letting them get rid of somebody that started. And she comes from a poverty, you know, that went to college and grew up and said, hey, I'm going to fight for the American people, and she's in the position she needs to be to fight for us. And you fucking tossed her out. These people think they're the wolves. They're the fucking sheeps, and they just defanged the sheepdogs. They fucking got rid of them. You know what I mean? They took their protectors out. The wolves are at the gates. You fucked up.
Ooh, what a great analogy. You're not the wolves, you're the sheep. I like that a lot. They think that they're leading the attack, and in fact, they're walking into the gates. Yeah. That's a good one.
And they've been so fooled. It's frustrating.
So is Trump going to be so he's going to be rebuilding his cabinet. Is her position part of the cabinet?
Yeah.
Or okay. Yeah, so he can just switch it out.
Yeah. Bummer. Not election. Yeah. Yeah. So like I said, and this is one that we will feel the effects of heavily for years. It's much harder to repeal things than it is to just get things going. So even if we get someone back in, say, 4 years, if Kamala Harris wants to run again, or whoever the fuck wants to run again, Gavin Newsom, federally, a lot of this shit is going to be so hard to fight back on. And this is what I mean. It feels like, what's the point of helping? I think the easier route, like the path of least resistance, is just to lead into these fucking idiots. Is like, you know what? Why not? Why don't I just make some money? Because you guys obviously don't care. You see, our environment is dying. Like they're theorizing that there might be a possibility that parts of Florida are about to become unlivable because hurricanes will hit them over and over again every year.
Like what's happening right now? They got hit 3 times this year, 4 times with one of the tropical storms that they thought was going to turn into a hurricane that didn't. Yeah.
And it's not supposed to happen every year, but if they happen every year, it's like, hey, I rebuilt my house. Yeah, well, give it a year.
Don't worry, no insurance company will ever talk to you anyways. So good luck.
And so they don't know, and it's frustrating because they have, like they're talking about these conservatives. They talk about we want these businesses out of ours and want corruption out. It's like, dude, you have someone that worked herself up from middle class, a woman
We
that
have
worked.
the golden story as it is.
Yeah, she worked through it with in the time when men didn't want women there. This woman worked her way through. She became the California Attorney General, our biggest, baddest state. she she worked her way through there. Then she worked her way to become vice president, and she was a fucking. And they said she slept her way to the top. We have another guy who also started from middle class, is a fucking school teacher, who all of his students come out and said, "Oh, man, this guy's done
Tim
nothing but be
Waltz,
good for
yeah.
us." And they said, "Oh man, that guy's a pedophile." You're like, why? Why do you think that?
Well, he looks
Uh,
happy.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
like, the guy that actually is um that actually raped a woman and talked about raping women and talked about seeing little girls naked. That guy, he is God
You
appointed.
know that guy that has his arm wrapped around Jeffrey Epstein and all that stuff? Yeah, let's make him president again.
And
Again.
I don't and I hate it because just based on that, it should be over. And people are like, well, there's all this they don't understand. And I hear all the talking points. I do get it. It does make sense. There's things Kamala Harris fucked up with her campaign. Things
She
Donald Trump did.
wasn't personable. She really
No,
wasn't. She never really stood out or made a name for herself, which is crazy because she's a prosecutor. You would think she would have the drive, the cadence, the ability to stand on questions and be like, here's my issues, here's my ideology, here's how we change it. But she didn't. She never did that.
I think she did, honestly, a lot of times. I mean, she went on these interviews and stuff like that. She kind of made things her own. The way she talked, the way you could see the way from the beginning she started to talk to the way towards the end. She tried to change the way she talked. At the beginning, she talked very monotone, like she did when she was vice president, just vice president the whole time. Once she started running and she started going on like SNL and started going on these podcasts and stuff like that, you can hear the way she talked was more of this relaxed tone. And I think that's what she was trying. There's probably, I mean, it had to be intentional. These people are fucking, they have
Yeah.
so many people doing it. Um, but I just don't think she ever. I think you're right about the moderates. They never wanted to piss off the moderate Americans. But the problem is like the main thing on young like Gen Z men voted for her in or voted for Trump in SWAS.
Yeah.
They were like 70% Trump, huge numbers. And it's like you need to. The thing that was important to Gen Z men is um is the economy, which they don't understand because they just got off of living off their mom,
Right.
and
So
then
they've
also
had all their
Gaza.
bills and everything else, provided for them from their parents. And now they're finally on their own and they're being like, Trump time.
Exactly. And so they don't know because as coming in as first time adults, they're like, well, things haven't really been good for me. And they're just starting to get good. They're just getting there, which always happens with every Democratic candidate. They're like, hey, man, I worked 3.5 years to get us back in the fucking green, and we're just getting there. And they're like, the election comes up, and they're like, man, I've had 3 years. It's been really hard. And you're like, yeah, because the fucking last guy fucked everything up. And then
And
now,
then we're
now,
going to
now
hit back to, Trump. And then the first 3 years will be pretty good. And then the last year will be bad. But then it won't matter anymore because Trump can't run again. Unless he enacts the FDR doctrine and says, well, I won the popular vote on my last election, so I should be allowed to go for a third one. After all, my second term was stolen from me. It's a valid attempt he could make if he wants to do a third term. I don't think he will, but he could try it.
he could. I mean, I think he's going to lose. My theory is that he's going to start losing a lot of um,
Support?
support very quickly though, because those tariffs. I mean, all the economists are coming out, and saying, like, guys, I'm not an economist. I don't. I understand that the basics of tariffs. I don't understand tariffs, obviously, but they're telling us it's bad. It's not gonna be like long term bad. It's gonna be immediate bad. So if this guy goes and does the thing he says he's gonna do, all of a sudden, even the white people are going to be living in poverty very quickly. His tax plan. I mean, if you make under $370,000, you can higher taxes, baby. What do you think? What are you talking about? Things are going to get worse immediately for people. Oh, the schools. He wants to,
Oh,
do
completely
away.
gut the Department of Education. That's right.
Yeah.
He wants to
Hey, you
just
want your kids?
abolish it.
Yeah, you want your kids going to school? Do you want uh a lot of like my sister is a teacher and she is so worried about this. Not because it's actually gonna be helpful for her, like monetarily wise, because she works for a private school. She said this will actually be better for her, but worse for the children, and she hates it.
She'll get
She's like,
paid more, yeah, but
yeah, she's like selfishly, she's like, I'll get paid more, but I fucking hate it. So these children that need help are not going to get the help they need.
what I think is really interesting, what I think is gonna happen, right, if he does actually gut the Department of Education, cut public school funding, no more federal dollars go to any state like school. I think what's going to happen is we're going to have up to middle school, junior high, 8th grade, maybe ninth grade, and then it's going to be straight to trade schools. It's going to be like, all right, you're going to go pick your job at 15, and now you're going to go to a trade so you can be a fully functioning worker at 18, and then that's what you do. You got a journeyman and a master's into whatever your trade is. Now you're a plumber or an electrician or a gravel digger or whatever it is, working on forklifts. I think that's going to be the goal for their ideology for our lower class citizens.
It could be. It's just it's interesting. Like obviously, I think they want a stupider uh,
Population.
yeah, population. Um, but what's interesting is Republicans, they're not dumb as far as their actual party goes. They know what everyone else knows is that America, like except for the stupid fucking racists here, is that we don't make enough babies to grow or keep our population. We're not.
We are not at replacement levels.
No, we need all those Mexicans they hate. We need them. We need them so bad for multiple reasons. One, they grow our population. Two is that about 1/3 of construction workers are immigrants. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I'm
They start,
honestly, that's 1/3 that's reported to be immigrants. I have no
yeah.
doubt that there's illegal immigrants or that there's people who are hiding their immigration status that are
Eh,
also still working. I wouldn't be surprised if it was upwards of 50.
Well, it's not just them too. It's also kitchens. Have you ever been in a kitchen? In almost every kitchen in America, there's at least one illegal dude there back there fucking killing it. It's
It's a stereotype, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in multiple kitchens. It is absolutely true. There is a system of getting people into kitchens that are undocumented. It's a real thing. There's a network of people like, oh yeah, call what's his name Eduardo to help this dude get a job here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Uh, it's
Little
just what it is.
backrooms action.
Yeah, and there's lots of industries I think that people are thinking about that require. I mean, construction is obviously the big one, but there's lots of industries. I mean, elder healthcare, people that are taking care of our older people that are it's the system's already strained. The huge chunk of those people are fucking immigrants. They're taking care of them, and if we start losing this part of our workforce, or they get scared out of those jobs, we don't have anyone to replace them because their unemployment's at 5%.
Well, I
We don't.
think that might be exactly one of the main reasons why Trump is so interlinked with Elon Musk is because he wants to get a lot of those secondary jobs down to robotics, down to a personal robot. Because I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla iBot is new old folks home special extraordinaire, right?
It
Where you
didn't
can
work.
sure, it didn't work today. It probably won't work tomorrow. But in 4 years, with programming and how fast programming is evolving right now, I would not be surprised if it's fully capable.
He's been talking about fully self-driving cars for over a decade now, promising every year that the next year is going to be the one. Sure, maybe,
We're,
but
we're pretty close. I mean, it feels like we're close.
we've been closed for 10 years.
Yeah.
I tell you, every year he tells you the same thing.
Well, we have AI shipping semis now. We have AI taxis that can come pick you up and drop you off. They need to have somebody in there in case there's outlier cases, but a lot of them are pretty autonomous in like San Diego and stuff.
Yes, they are getting closer, but there's no. There's no definite yet. And sure, maybe they can be done by robots. Maybe there is still a limit as to what AI can do. It's getting,
For now.
I don't know. Yeah, there is a whole lot that goes into just AI that I don't. That's just a whole nother
But
fucking
also,
thing.
regardless of if AI can do it, I feel like dehumanizing people to do that is also the wrong way to go about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I don't know. I hate that whatever these guys are thinking. Okay, like Florida. Florida felt the strain when they were threatening immigrants, right? There was all these big prime contractors coming up like, hey, we can't find workers. We can't find workers. Like, yeah, because you threatened to deport all the Mexicans and they ran.
Yeah,
Like, who
because
do you
they
think
don't
was
want to
building the
play with
houses?
you anymore.
Yeah, you know who's building the houses. You hired them. Like, are you stupid? Firefighting. By and large, our biggest demographic that does wildland firefighting is Mexican immigrants. Next time there's a fucking fire burning down California or Montana or North Dakota or Oregon, if all your Mexicans are deported, who's putting out those fires? Nobody. Watch them burn.
California voting no to end slavery in prisons was such a shock to me. I was sure that they would have been like, all right, we're going to stop incarcerated people from being forced to work. And they said, nope, they gotta keep it. They gotta keep working regardless.
I think it doesn't surprise me because I think it's level of importance for people, right? I think a lot of like this is the hard part, right? Is the hard part is you realize when you start like looking at demographics how alone you are.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of these California liberals, they care about projecting things. They care about like white women. They're more California liberals. Like, well, I want to protect my body, and I do want to protect. I want to be performative and protect black people. But they're like, hey, there's slavery going on. Do you want to end that? They're like, does that affect me? Is anyone going to know if I don't? Then no.
I
You
think it
know,
was Malcolm X that said, the most dangerous to a movement is a white liberal because they come as a fox. It is easy to fight the wolf, but a fox will act as your friend. Right? They'll come
yeah.
in, they'll be like, yeah, we're with you, we support you, we want to help you. But the second that that group gains power or starts to rise above wherever the white liberal is, all of a sudden it's like, actually, what if we put you back down so we
Yeah.
can help you again? It's a
Well, did you see
power
measure
complex.
measure 118 in Oregon? The to take the cap off taxes for businesses over 25 million and then redistribute back to basically giving people a semi stimulus check every year.
Yeah.
Um, it got shot down hard. It was like what 23% voted yes.
I thought 118 was the sales tax on all goods.
I might be confused on those ones.
I I might be wrong. Oh well.
I might be wrong. But yes, that was the big one for me. Yes, it's basically increasing sales. They projected that it would increase the cost of goods and services by 1 point like oh something percent over the next I think 6 years. Um, but the revenue collected would have been like 1.7 billion in the first 2 years, and then jumped to like 14.7 billion the 2 years after, and then 15 point like something billion in the next 2 years after, which would be helpful and giving back to people. So everyday people would have been very could have been very helpful for, and they
Yeah,
didn't
because
vote on it.
$1,600 for a lot of people could absolutely change their projection for a year.
Yes, I just one of my friend's moms, she has a son just like my mom does, my brother,
Your
who
mom has a
is 10.
son?
He has a son. No, no, my brother is a bit of a shithead. My mom spent a lot of money on him trying to get him right and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My friend, his mom was about to get kicked out, and so I gave her money to pay her rent. And saying that is because she was freaking out and crying, and I'm like people think about like, oh, it's not that money, and I'm like, it's not that much money to you. She was going to get evicted from her apartment for $150. $1,600 would have been $1 million to her that day.
Yeah. That day she would have been like $1,600. That changes the projection for my whole year, possibly my
Yeah,
whole life, depending on what events transpire after that, right?
Yep, I can pay my rent this month and next month, and I'm good. Yeah, and we as Oregonians shot it down because no one cares.
I think I
And that's
voted
the
yes for that one. I don't
yeah.
remember
Well,
exactly, but I think I did.
well, it's tough, you know. There's too much going on. There's so much going on. We're also tired. Um,
And what an absolute privilege we have as Oregon that we get a voter pamphlet like a week or two before our
yep.
ballot shows up. So we don't have
Hmm.
to walk in, be like, all right, here's half a paragraph, here's half a paragraph, time to make my choice. Right? Like they do
Exactly.
in Georgia or other, like, you have to vote
Exactly.
at the ballot states,
Yeah, we don't need to go anywhere to do things. We and we still don't vote in mass.
which is crazy to me. Which
Yeah,
is
it's like you have to.
crazy. All you have to do is drive over to a ballot drop box anywhere and you can drop it in.
Exactly. It's the entitlement here. And yeah, it's like I said, it feels uh semi hopeless when you talk to people because people are they don't know like they said like people like when you're voting for stuff, you know, I was voting against that fucking monster because he wants to strip women's rights away.
He wants to
You
repeal
know,
gay marriage. He wants to,
yeah.
yeah.
I am not I'm not a gay man. I am not a woman. But I can empathize with them and how fearful they are. They're getting they he wants to go like part of Project 2025, one of the authors of it, he floated the idea of going back to a single home voter. So only one vote from each home. Women aren't going to get that vote. Going back to no cause divorces, repealing that. So your husband can beat the shit out of you, but as long as he doesn't want the divorce, no divorce.
No can do.
Um, and so for me, I can empathize with women being terrified, not just for their bodily autonomy, but now they're getting their voting rights taken away, their ability to leave an abusive men. And Oregon, that probably won't be a problem here, but it will be a problem across the country. And it's frustrating to me that so many people are like, well, what is it like? I hear it all the time is what does it really change? Does who's in president really change? You know, I'm like,
It changed a
yeah, it
ton.
does. It changes a ton. But also, just because it doesn't change much for you, look around you to the people who it does. And like I said, a lot of people, like, what pisses me off so much is so many people voted for Trump without knowing why they voted for him. They're like, well, the economy's better. And then you ask, how? What did he do to make the economy better? And they're like, well, he lowered gas prices. You know, what did he do
He opened up
specifically?
the National
Yeah,
Reserve right before elections just
yeah,
to dump the gas prices down. Yeah, that's what he did for the
yeah.
gases. It's crazy.
And they're so stupid because they can't give you actual. They don't actually know what he's done because he's done nothing. His policies were terrible. I mean, some of them were. I guess that he does have some wins. I'm not going to
Well,
fault
he
them.
did fracking. He signed the paperwork for the Space Force. He did prevail a time of peace in the world while he was president. Like, that
By
is an
giving
accurate time.
concessions.
Yeah, by, just rolling over. But
Yeah,
technically, the truth is that we weren't in active wars. We weren't sending our men and women off to die in foreign lands. Unfortunately, it was for bad reasons. I often
yeah.
believe that the American morality shouldn't be forced on everybody, but sometimes it should be, a baseline for a lot of the world. Like,
Right.
now that we left, what was it, Afghanistan?
Mhm.
Women can't hear other women's voices due to the morality police. Can
Yeah.
you imagine? Like,
And
we're
the
getting
thing is
close.
though, is whose morality are we talking about, right? Because we're saying we shouldn't force our morality on people. On who though? So if all the men over there, like they're imposing those kind of rules on women, but the women are like, hey, I want to dress how if they're women over there are like, I dream of being an American woman. I want to dress how I want to dress. I want to be able to tell men to fuck off if I don't like them. Whose morality do we get to impose on who? Because it's like, hey, these women need our help, but the guys saying no, and they're like, stay out of it. If I was getting jumped by fucking five dudes though, and someone walked by, I was like, that's not my problem. I don't want to get in the middle of this. You know what I mean? It's like you're a
Yeah.
bad person. You know?
No, I'm all about the morality of freedom, and freedom can only be quantified by the ability of choice, right? So to be
Mhm.
able to expand the ability for the individual to choose is a more free society. Unfortunately, with Project 2025, Trump doctrine, and a lot of his cabinet that he'll probably be making, they are focusing on limiting choice in the ways that I've seen. Like with the the use of like NSA, FBI to be able to track women on their period apps, on their ovulation cycles,
Mhm.
and seeing if a woman has skipped ovulation and then goes and skips like a red state that has abortion bans, and they
Yeah.
come back and they're not pregnant. All of a sudden, you might have just committed a near federal offense
Yep.
for
And,
going to go seek healthcare in another state.
and people that aren't involved or that doesn't bother them,
That's big government. Like,
yeah, they're not actually, they don't care. Like that's an actual fear, something I don't have to deal with. Like I told you, we're in that group, that community action group. I think I told you about that. There was literally a person that was a cop that had infiltrated that group and was getting information, and it all the direct messages started coming, and this group was literally just meeting in Portland, and our goals were to start a community garden, and to and try to help feed the homeless people. Those were our two main goals in Portland, because we're like, hey, things are going really bad. We want to just try to help people. It was a community action group, and the police invaded it, literally, and we're taking people's
well, you
information
were
down.
organizing to help, right? Which immediately the government doesn't like. That's why self-helping organizations in crisis situations often get demonized by like people like the National Guard and the Red Cross, stuff like that. A lot of times they want the government overreach to be in charge of all aspects of the community. And that's why they influence and infiltrate small community standards like that.
Yeah, it's scary, and it worked. It worked to like a T. One police officer getting in a group, because there was a group of like 300 people in there, um, that were like in different sections of the state. Um, Essentially disbanded the entire group. Everybody had to leave. Everybody was in fear, and I get it. And so that group does not meet anymore.
Which means it was a successful infiltration.
Oh,
They
100%. Yeah.
scattered everybody, and I'm assuming most of them never reconnected and tried to do anything again.
Nope. There was a couple people. I had their numbers. I did text a few of them, and they were like, "Yeah, I haven't heard anything. Nothing's really kind of going on." And it's like, well, wow, good job. They did it. You know what I mean? It feels like and I get it. Nobody wants to get arrested. Most people are just regular people.
Yeah,
You
most
know,
people want to keep their head down, not get involved with the law, and just have a good time. Unfortunately, I feel like martial law might pop up in the next 4 years, in which case we might have city lockdowns and other stuff like that. I don't know what would cause it, but I have a feeling it might happen, especially if anybody starts like causing riots, like actual riots to affect the outcome of areas. Um,
yeah.
Also, now the president has unadulterated presidential immunity,
Oh
and
yeah.
Biden never overturned it. I guess he has until January 21st to overturn it. I don't know what he would be able to do for that, but wide sweeping immunity, Trump is going to use that to his highest extent. I mean, he's
Oh yeah.
already said that his mission is righteous. He's already equated him living through the assassination attempt as an act of God.
Yeah. Fascism is, a combination of ultra nationalism and a consolidation of power, and he's got both.
We're
No
going to see
one,
what a great America looks like.
100%. I mean, no one will in the Republican Party right now will skew away from him, because they know they need him. They needed him to win this election. They tried to push others, and the MAGA people didn't want them. They wanted Trump, and so they had to back him again. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. They got it all. They got the courts. They got the House, the Senate,
Yep,
they got the
they have
presidency.
every single branch of our government, every one of them,
Yeah.
with more than enough majority to just push objectives through as well, as long
Yeah.
as they
Whatever
vote
they
as a
want.
block. Yeah.
Yep. Our last hope was the House, that hoping they could slow down court decisions, but now with not them,
Nope, they won the House as well. Yeah.
we are totally fucked, as far as whatever they want.
Probably Supreme
Uh,
Court till 2050. That's gonna shape the world.
I mean, and there will be people that will still dissent, and there's still gonna be people that are fighting, especially on the state and local, your local levels and stuff like that. But
Which
but it is
local
really
level is the most important level? That's what really affects the individual and then can ramp up the influence all the way up to the Supreme Court or the White House. But it's difficult.
yeah. Yeah, it can. It can. It's just the federal coming down is also hard, especially with someone like Trump, who is threatening to withhold things that people need, like a child. You know, like that Build Back
He's
Better, right?
very prid pro quo for
Yeah,
any interaction. He's like, you give me something, I'll give you something.
he's a giant baby. He wants you to tell him he's beautiful. You know, he's a fucking he's your special little boy. As long as he's your special little boy, he'll get
Special
whatever he
little
wants.
boy.
Yeah, which is weird for nearly 80-year-old man. But like I mean, things like I worry about um is funding like for the Build Back Better, right? That I don't know that all that funding, how that funding is released. Um, like Oregon got so much money. I think like what $3 billion. Washington got like $3 billion. I don't think that all just comes in one fat check. I think it is paid in installments, and so I'm worried that because he hates Biden so much and wants to repeal a bunch of his stuff, what if he just decides, nah, that money's not going to come? So all these
Yeah.
projects that are being and this is what I mean, like people are not realizing how stupid it is. So a lot of these projects people are lining up for, all these projects that would really help boom economies all over the country. He might just stop and say, you know what, liberal states, you don't get that money now.
West
All of a sudden,
Coast, East Coast, sorry, all the money's going right in the middle. Yeah.
exactly, yeah.
Where the red
So there's
is.
a lot of things coming, and I mean, and the other part of it too is Social Security. Um, we have been behind the gun on Social Security, paying back our Social Security for ever since the Bush administration. And we are officially the bad thing is basically, we had Bush borrowed. When these guys talk about cutting taxes, what they mean is without any sort of like getting more money back from somewhere. Basically what you're doing is you're borrowing. So whether it's borrowing from like other countries, or if you're borrowing from the big pot is Social Security. Uh, Bush over borrowed. So when Obama came
He
in, he was
basically
under
bankrupt Social Security, if I remember right.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. He essentially bankrupted. And then when Obama came in, I can't remember who was his treasurer. But basically, they set a black box of money to put back into it to try to fix this problem that was caused by Republicans. Because Republicans are stupid; they don't fucking understand. Their money that they need is was spent by Republican because he wanted their votes. Look at what I did. I cut taxes for you guys, right? There'll be no repercussions. There were repercussions. So Obama fixed the problem, kind of. He didn't fix it totally, but if we needed more presidents to keep doing the same thing he did, then Trump came in and said, "Nah,
Nah, nah,
not gonna
sonny.
happen. I'm gonna cut taxes again, guys." And they were like, "No, don't do it." And then Biden came in and said, "Holy shit, we got to get this under control." Now the big
Well,
problem is we're really behind.
one thing I can say is that if Trump does initiate this massive 20% tariff on everything, that will be a humongous income stream into the U.S. Treasury. That'll be amazing for our bottom line cash. It'll probably strengthen the US dollar long term. It will just suck for every living day people and probably cause the general buying power of the American to go down, but it would probably increase the value of the dollar and increase the amount of money that the US government gets.
In the short term, yeah. But also though, um, it's going to isolate us even more.
Yeah.
America's already gone pretty isolationism in the
We're
last
a
couple
very
of
isolationist
decades.
country.
Not throughout history, just in the recent like last 10 years. I mean, or
Before
maybe
World War One, we were very isolationist.
yeah, but then we became. I mean, World War One. That was a long.
Sure, but it's like a
the
big.
majority of our the majority of our ruling time, we have not been an isolationist country.
Well, fair. We've been the police of the world. And I think a lot of the
Exactly.
Americans are tired of being in forever wars that we don't feel like benefit us.
I think what Americans are forgetting, and what all of us are forgetting, is that we're so spoiled. They're like, man, nothing ever happens. There's no war here. Do you know why there's no war? Because we're the police. We've
Hmm.
stopped. No one wants to fucking fight a war with us around. Before that, and before we are in an unprecedented time. There's no war with the creation of nukes, and then America deciding that they can police the world, and everyone kind of agreeing to it. There's been no wars, but before that, there was just wars. People are like, "Hey, I want your country," and like, "Don't want to give it to you," and they're like,
Too
"Taking it."
bad.
Yeah, and
I
nobody
we
did anything.
we have
The other country
10,000
over there was like,
horses, so we'll take it.
exactly, like, "Dude, we have more horses than you, and we have more spears." And they're like, "Oh,
Damn.
that, you got me there, don't you?" And that was just the normal throughout history. That's what people have done, and no one else stepped in unless it benefited them. They're like, "We'll help you, but you got to give us a bunch of shit." Or like, "Hey, they're getting beat over there.
Ooh, I
Maybe we
also
can,
want that country.
yeah, let's stab them in the back," you know. And so that's just what happened. If people wanted to, and now like as Americans, we're like, "Well, we don't want to get involved in everybody's shit." Everybody's like, "America, stay out of our business." It's like, okay, yeah, we're so
Yeah, but if
spoiled
we
as
say
modern.
okay, all of a sudden a lot of the world will go into chaos.
Yeah,
Like heavy, like China will start expanding throughout Korea, the Philippines, all that. Russia will probably try to take Ukraine, Moldova, that entire Eastern European steppe.
yeah. Literally every portion of the world it would is without the American military being in pieces there. Like Russia would have already taken Ukraine without uh
Oh, they would have
American
taken it
backing.
3 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, Iran and Israel in the Middle East are both very, very aggressive countries. Yeah, China is an aggressive country. They all want to take things that they perceive as theirs. North Korea, they think South Korea is still theirs. They want it back. Now, I don't know if they can beat South Korea.
Have you heard about the North Korean troops in Russia?
Yeah.
So I guess they sent 10,000, 15,000 North Korean troops to Russia, and they're trying to implement them into the platoon structures and all that. But they have to give them cell phones with internet access, and they've gotten hooked on porn. Like apparently they're
Nice.
not doing training. Apparently they're going late to like locations and aren't being cooperative because they're just stuck on their phone watching porn. Like,
Nice.
all right,
A very human experience. Like, have you guys seen these titties everywhere?
look at this. This is the best
Jesus.
thing ever. I mean, I remember when I first found porn, so I can only imagine you're like
Exactly.
23 being like,
It's a whole new world. You're like, what? No way. Yeah, that's fucking that's hilarious. I love that for them. I love that they're just discovering porn. Like, no, we need you to murder. He's like, look, after I'm done beating off
uh huh, uh
three,
huh.
400 times.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're gonna end up with like 5,000 North Korean troops that actually hit the front line, but their right hand is just jacked, like
Mhm.
Quagmire.
Just like, what are you having? I've been
Bro.
training. Yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I'm hoping the world will. It's not going to be as bad as I think it'll be. But the sad part is I have started cutting off people in my life. I
Sometimes
like
you
my
have
uncle.
to.
My uncle. There's no hate like Christian love. You know, those guys are.
That's a quote. There's no hate like Christian love. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys. You know, I love my uncle, and there's so many times he can be so like good for people, and he actually loves his family, including like me and all his nieces and things like that. But then some of the shit that comes out of his mouth is so hateful, and you know, when I tell him like, dude, this guy literally is a rapist, he's like, well, I don't believe all that. I'm like, why don't you believe it? What facts do you have to not believe that? A court convicted him, you know. A court decided he was, and you're deciding because you don't want to hear it that he's not. And he's like, well, I just don't believe it. I'm like, cool.
So much of our current political sphere is based on faith,
Mhm.
right? And I think that was such an important part to our founding fathers that our politics weren't governed by faith. And because of that, we have a golden cow now as our president. I feel like the faith fully made the logic no longer matter because I know what's right,
Yeah.
regardless of what truth is shown to me.
Yeah, because these people are wild. Like, you know, I know women that voted for him. I'm like, hey, if I told you,
My mom voted
there's
for
this,
him.
yeah, yeah, there's one of the girls on my volleyball team for league this term is a huge Trump supporter, and I'm like, you have two daughters. How about I go leave you and your two daughters in a room with a guy who is a convicted rapist and hang out with Jeffrey Epstein? What if, another a mass, a guy that's known for trafficking women? Would you like that? Would you be comfortable with that? And their answer would probably be fucking no. But she voted for him for president and advocated that other people vote for him for president. And
Yeah.
he is a rapist. And can you imagine the woman that he raped and the other women that claimed he raped them that haven't got their court date yet with
Or all
him?
the people throughout the years where he's molested or sexually assaulted in
Yeah.
various ways and just has
They
never came forward or been
yeah.
prosecuted in any way. Yeah.
The thing is though, is can you imagine though? Like I hate when there's people, I don't have very many enemies considered people I don't like, but I don't like to see them do good at all. When I hate someone, I hate them. Can you imagine the people he raped, molested, all those seeing this motherfucker rise to the highest seat in the land?
Twice.
Because people don't care. Yeah.
Twice.
They're screaming, "Hey, he raped me," and they're like, "Shut up,"
They went, okay, and
And yeah,
what? Has he done
people
something
lower
bad?
gas prices, and you're like, "Yo, I hate you so much." Yeah, so that's what I mean with lack of empathy. Is like there are women, at least one, but probably multiple, that are telling you, "Hey," and some women, not even women, some little girls that this motherfucker molested, that they're like that are living with seeing this fucking monster on camera for the next 4 years, making decisions for our country. And 70 million people voted for him, knowing what he did.
I
So what?
honestly and truly hope that as the president, he does help the American people. I just don't think his history or what he said will show that. I don't think that he's going to make the poor richer. I think he's going to only make the rich richer. And I think he's going to make everybody else's life harder.
The problem is, even if his economic plan works, which again I think I agree with you. I hope it does. Obviously, I'm an American. I hope it does. I hope he does everything good. And I'm totally wrong.
Yeah, that's the desire.
I have thought about that before. I was like, maybe I'm not arrogant enough to think I'm immune to these
Propaganda.
propaganda. Yeah, I thought about that so much because I've looked into the guy and try to see what I'm missing.
What
Maybe
do they see? Yeah.
yes, maybe I'm the guy in the fucking echo chamber and I can't get out of it. Maybe they're right. Maybe the schools have brainwashed me into being this fucking liberal.
You
And I'm like,
college educated slave? Yeah.
yeah, and I can't see it. I just can't. I'm like, he's a shitty person. We're right. Are we? I thought we were all, and that's why all the people voting for him. I'm like, I thought we were all in agreement. I thought people were just confused, and we were all nice people. You know what I mean? I thought in my heart of hearts, that's why I try to volunteer. Like I try to give money. I try to help people out when I can. That's my baser instinct. That's my base how I like to live my life because I thought everybody wanted that. Everyone. Sometimes you're in a bad situation, you just need a little bit of help. But no one was inherently mean or. But seeing all these people, friends I've had, gloating about how he won, cry about it, liberals. Oh, look at half the people crying today. I'm like, this is again. It's not a football game. There are actual consequences that people that you say you love are scared about. Like people that I know, my family on my Mexican side, the women in my life are now scared. This election now has. Have you seen the thing going right now? Your body, my choice.
I have not here seen that.
There has this guy Nick Fuentes. You know who that is, right?
I'm not good with names.
Yeah, I'm not good with names. Okay, he's a literal neo-Nazi. Has a podcast. Trump has has had meetings with him before, which is super weird. One of the many Nazis he's okay with. Um, he did this rant. He said, "My body." He goes, "Your body, my choice." That's my body, my voice. That's a laughing stock. He goes, "It's your body, my choice." Fuck you, women. Just basically, he goes, because you think he's like, you think this is a glass ceiling? It's a fucking ceiling made of bricks. You will never.
Oh, I
sit
did
in that
see
seat.
that on
Yeah,
TikTok.
yeah. So what's happening though now is it has emboldened, especially young men. It is trending. Your body, my choice, all over. Can you imagine how scary that is for women right now? Because it's not just one or two men; it is thousands and thousands, and of maybe getting to the millions of young men saying, "Your body, my choice."
Well, it is absolutely horrifying, terrifying, and unacceptable. I think, however, a major reckoning is coming in the understanding of how our society is formed. Because for a long time, women and gay and all the LGBTQ like communities have been given multiple rights, have been gaining popularity and equality with the white working male as it is. Um, and I think what started happening in a lot of woke culture is that they started demonizing cis white men who were allies, who are people who care about them. And I think a lot of that, even small pushback at a young age, when then you're able to turn around and see the Republicans, the Red Party, being like, you're strong, you're powerful, you're important, you deserve to make decisions, versus having the actually, this is a safe space. We don't want any white men in here. Please go find somewhere else. I think that duality really switched the perception this younger generation had towards the struggles of LGBTQ and women. I think they see them as people who had power over them and then have been using that to isolate or demonize them when it's just a growing pain of a group gaining some type of self voice.
I agree and I disagree. I I think so. I think I'll say this. I think one of my biggest problems with Kamala Harris's uh, campaign was that she was very she didn't stick to unity, right? People want to feel part of the group, no matter what they are. This is we're not the politics isn't politics. It's a football game in America.
Yeah.
We want to know we want to root for our team, and once I pick my team, I don't give a fuck. I'll throw out all logic, and I want to pick my team, and we win. She didn't do that as claiming unity and grouping these people into our team. She didn't tell them to come over and have drinks with us.
Mm-hmm.
She stuck to this side, and she needed to have them unify, and that's what Obama did, and that's what Biden did. Now there is still a lot of sexism in there, but
I guarantee if Kamala Harris ran the exact same campaign, not a single thing different, but her name was Kevin and she was a man, she would have won.
maybe.
I think that's true. I think a lot of people would have been like, well, he's got good points. Oh, well, on his website, he gives his policies. I think they would have done that a lot more.
I think it's definitely possible. I don't know that that's everything, but my broader point.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
That, no, you're fine. Is that I think she could have done more to bring them in, right? And people can do more, and I've seen that before. In the ultra left, there seems to be almost this hatred for white men, but I think it goes on the responsibility of these young white men too to also realize that some spaces aren't for them. Like I don't belong into going into some lesbian bar because that's a space where lesbian women want to feel comfortable, and I'm some they don't know me. Maybe I am a creepy guy trying to pick up a lesbian girl. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's not a space for me. Um, and a lot of these women, as we're seeing, have dealt with sexism. So we're only seeing, what we want to see, especially in Oregon. Hey, well, there's only everyone's so nice here and so forgiving, but we don't get to see the sexism and the racism that women experience. We don't get to see the in Texas and Utah and these guys that are coming out of the wazoo right now and saying your body, my choice. I don't care how mean a woman was to you one day. You say ugly shit like that. That's your fault, not anybody else's. You made that decision, and this is
Yes.
why the women were okay. This is why the women were absolutely right to not like you. It's because a little bit of pushback, and you said your body, my choice. Now they didn't want. You know what I mean? That's how
Yeah.
soft you are. These are a bunch of losers that don't know how to talk to women, and they're like, you know what? If they won't talk to us, we'll force them to. It's like, why don't you grow the fuck up, you pussy? Go improve yourself and learn to talk to women, and be a person.
Well, see that exact statement right there, right? Why don't you go improve yourself and learn how to talk to women is a main talking point on the right, on the self-empowerment. Listen, they are nothing. They're just a hose for the street or whatever. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to have fear. Listen, you're powerful. You're strong. Stand up for yourself. They don't need to control you. And versus the, hey, you're a piece of shit. You're not talking to people right. Go somewhere else. They're the same person.
The thing is, though, is you're right. Maybe the message can be displayed better, but it is an absolute truth. It is. I went through it when I was younger. There was a point in my life when I was like, oh, girls don't want to talk to me because of this and that. And then you realize, like, oh, I was a loser. You know what I mean? It's like I probably should have worn more deodorant. You know what I mean? I probably should have done this better. That's why no one wanted to talk to me. And it's this truth that these young men are taking the easy way out. They want to blame women for not liking them. Newsflash: most women, I mean, despite this whole thing, we're like, there's this new gay agenda and women are all this. Most women are straight, and they also want to have sex, and they also want to have babies and things like that. They want the same things you want. You're just not good enough to get them. You know, and that's it's not it's a women are also, and people forget too, is like men are also, like, I have turned down women before. Be good enough to do that. Grow up. It's about being an adult. But a lot of these guys are big babies. Like the Ben Shapiro. Have you ever heard him actually talk?
Yeah,
He's a
I've
fucking loser.
he's dumb.
He's a fucking idiot.
So
He's the
many
kind of
people
guy.
love him.
Yeah, he's the kind of guy. If you heard him imagine him in high school and no one wanting to talk to him because he was the weirdo that talked about, well, women shouldn't have rights. It's like, dude, chill. You're killing the vibe. You know what I mean? He's that guy. And a lot of these guys are like, well, I also kill the vibe. Maybe I should listen to him. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, how about in this day, toxic masculinity is such a big deal. Like people talk about it like it's being this liberal thing. I'm like, it really is. Because I grew up watching a lot of men in my family cheat on their wives and hit their wives and thinking that was okay for a long time. I also thought gay people were nothing. I was super homophobic when I was younger because that's what a lot of the men and especially my Mexican side of my family taught me. It was like, okay, that's how we treat people. And then when I got around other people, I'm like, this is bullshit. It's like, I was like, why would you want a
That
woman that's in
step
service to
is
you?
what so many people never get to, though. Their entire community. Like, imagine a lot of those towns that are like 5,000 people. That's everybody. And you can't step out and learn and readdress different.
It's I don't know, man. To me, it's a lot of empathy, and I get it. There does need to be some more maybe outreach to him, I guess, because there needs to be more empathy with these people, or they need to have more empathy, and on both sides is empathy. Because I do agree there is a portion of people that are like, oh, you're hating on. I'm like, you are shifting the white guys away from you. The actual allies, you're shifting them more and more ways. You're making them feel. I was actually watching this live stream of this native guy I follow, and he was having white people jump on, and he was just like they were just berating him. And I was watching it, and I started putting in the comments, I was like, dude, what the fuck is the point of berating him? And then the native guy and like he had native people, and they started coming after me, and I'm like, dude, I'm like, first of all, I'm native, and I work for like a native nonprofit. I actually go and see these communities. I'm like, what the fuck have you done? You know? And so I'm getting this argument with people, and I'm like, dude, these are white people that are coming and asking questions, and like, hey, how do we get? And these are people that could potentially be voters for you and allies to you, and you went and hard attacked instead of saying, hey, okay, we should ask questions. You're calling them white. You're calling them, as a slur. You're calling them names. I'm like, dude, and I do agree. That's a lot of leftists is went hard into that route. I'm like, maybe let's take a second and talk. You know,
The instinct for leftists to use inclusion through exclusion, like these are our groups and you can't change that, I think is a big reason why this faith-based ideology had such a grassroots movement. Like I think they're both important, right? I do think that all people deserve rights and honorifics. I believe all people should be treated as equal and without fear of just existing as a person. However, the ability to use hatred, anger, and aggression to organize people is almost always more effective than hope, inclusion, and love. It's
well,
unfortunate, but it's a truth.
it is. Well, the thing is what people need to be able to respect that they have a privilege, right? Everybody does, and it's not a good or a bad thing. It just is. As men, as me and you, as men walking down the street, we have a less chance of being accosted by somebody than a fucking 110-pound girl. Not, we
Yeah,
feel
woman.
safer walking, or woman, whatever. Um,
100-pound, like 8-year-old.
yeah, exactly. 110-pound woman walking down the road. We feel much safer than that. We're not probably not going to get raped or kidnapped. That's not good or bad, right? That's just something. But we have to respect that and can't say, well, why do you feel scared? I don't feel scared. You know what I mean? Don't be stupid about it. On the other side, though, is I think people need to respect the fact that some people don't know what that privilege actually is and don't know about it because they've never been outside of that community. They're not being assholes; they're just ignorant. It's like if I've had that conversation. People are like, well, "Why do they just hate white people for being white?" And it's like they hate the privileges you're garnered, and people on the leftists also don't even understand why they hate. They just hate. They hate the white people. It's like you don't understand what you hate is the system, not the person. If you hate all white people, then you're also a fucking idiot, and I don't want
Which
you on
is
my
why
team.
knowledge is almost always the greatest equalizer and community builder. The more
Yeah,
you know about somebody, or the more you know about the world around you, the more likely you are to be a community driven person. And that's
yeah,
why when you get more and more educated, you become more and more liberal, at least normally.
yeah. Well, and the thing is, most of these people, like a lot of these people, like I considered friends, that vote for Trump. They're very, very. My friends are I usually have around me are very, very nice. They're very giving. They're very helpful. Like my one of my friends that voted is the girl that's on my volleyball team. She is one of the nicest people you will ever meet in real life. If you met her in real life, not racist at all. She fucking loves everybody. Is very helpful. If you need money, she'll give you money. Whatever. Hardcore Trump supporter, hardcore liberals are crying type
Yeah.
person, and she knows my stance on politics, but will never make fun of me for it. Said super nice person, but I'm like, you get into this mindset though, and you have no fucking like you change. Everything changes. I don't understand. No
Well,
one
I think
understands.
a big aspect of that is a lot of people are very much the headline readers and aren't somebody who will go into the article and go into the source of like what somebody's talking about and dig deeper. They just go off of the reactionary bits that they're able to consume in a easily digestible format. And I think that's where you kind of get that dichotomy that happens.
Yeah. Well, we definitely in America need more understanding of. I think one of the things that
Media
was very,
literacy. Yeah.
huh?
Media
Well, I think
literacy.
media literacy would be nice, but I think even more importantly is is taking the shadow off of our politicians and our bills, right? So many bills, we have no idea what they do. Most people don't even know how to read bills. I barely,
I can't.
I,
I've tried.
right?
I've tried it for
Yeah,
like these last 4 years. I try to read some of them. They're
yeah,
dense and they're written in legalese. It's a different
yeah,
language, basically.
exactly. Yeah. And so we don't. So I think one thing that would really help is simplifying bills in general, is putting them out there and saying this is essentially what they will do for you. And then with politicians, they should all have profiles that are very, very, very easily found. Say, hey, this is where this person tends to vote. This is what they've done in the past. This is what they've been accused of. This is who they've taken money from. It's all there. They should have profiles like NBA players do. This is
I'm
what
pretty
they've.
sure that there's websites that will do that for you,
There are some for the bigger politicians,
but not for
but
everybody.
not for all. And yeah, you have to go look for it. But if there was one accumulative place, you can say because when you look at somebody, and you're like, hey, I'm looking at our attorney generals. These are your two choices, and I'm like, I have no fucking clue who you guys are or what you've done. Like if I Google it, it'll tell me this is what I believe in, and the other person over here says I believe in this exact same thing essentially, but that person's worse than me. And you're like, I don't know who to believe. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Or you get the other side where you only get the bad stuff because both of them are attacking each other and you
Yeah,
go, well, both of these seem like terrible people. Why would I vote for
yeah,
either one of them?
exactly. And you're like, what have you actually done? And then it comes down to, well, I guess I'll vote for whatever party I'm just with because I don't know. You
Right. You're
know?
just like, okay, well, this one says he's a Democrat or this one says he's a Republican, so I'll vote for that one. And you don't know
that's
anything about them. You're just
yep.
trusting the word.
That's how I voted for our attorney general this year. I have no fucking clue who they are. I was like Democrat, and I am part of the problem because I had no fucking clue who they were. I googled them a little bit, and it was essentially what I just laughed about making up for them is I could not figure out what the fuck either one of them wanted or had or what they've done. Like it's like I don't know either one of you. I looked it up. I tried. Most people won't even look it up.
Right. Most people won't take that step, won't do their homework. And I think it is honestly disincentivized to have your concrete policies posted because then people can be like, well, you said you were going to do this and that didn't happen. So you're a liar and you don't keep your promises. Versus when you're like, I'm for the American people, blah, 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 and just fluff words.
Well, the thing is too is why I think there should be more like profiles and like in what bills, like who's actually sponsoring these bills and what that actually means. Because so that bill that uh Trump people keep throwing around. It's like they were giving prisoners sex change operations and they're putting funds towards that. Trump act that was under Trump. Trump did that. He
Was
signed the
it?
fucking bill.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious. I love that.
There's a reporter Don Lemon that was walking around with that
Don.
bill, and that's something I didn't know either. I didn't know that either, and he was walking around. I can't remember what state it was. I think it was in Pennsylvania, And when he brought that up, people are like, "Yeah, see that stuff." And he's like, "You know, Trump signed that." And he's like, he's showing everybody the bill, and they're like,
Huh.
"Huh?" And I didn't know that as a fucking Trump hater. I'm like, and that is why it's so important to say, like, put a big fucking notice. Hey, this is what this bill does, and that's who did it. He take responsibility because he ran on shit like that, anti-trans sentiment, telling people Biden just give trans people money when real Americans need it in prison. It's like that was you. You did it, and you lied,
I think
and people
that's
believed you.
one of the reason why people both love Trump and hate Trump is because he's reactionary and decisive, right? You have to give him that. He's very decisive about his actions. But I feel like what side of the coin he picks is made up on the like within 5 minutes of whatever decision he's making.
Yeah.
Because like he'll do that. He'll sign things for the trans people. He did the Space Force. He increased the military budget and then complained about the military budget being too high. That's one thing I actually am afraid of with a Trump presidency is he's always called military men like me suckers and fools. And he's talked about lowering disability payments and readdressing disability accounting or like so like I hopefully would be safe for being grandfathered in, but I don't know about people behind me or like what type of medical stuff that they're going to have to go through just to get the same type of ratings and stuff that I have.
One of the
So
guys,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, oh no, I said one of the guys I follow that he's actually a pretty staunch Republican, like is Reagan's his guy. Because I have to listen to like a lot of different people, and he's very smart. He's the guy that worked for NATO and stuff like that, and does like a lot of the Ukraine and Russia reporting. Um, he actually came out in a big support of Kamala Harris because of just that, what you're saying. He thinks, and a bunch of other military like Republican guys, like classical Republicans, were all like, he's gonna fuck with our benefits, essentially. They don't feel comfortable with it because of the things he's done and said, and from that guy, he thinks it's all but guaranteed that he will. That is going to be a place where he will look for. They're looking for extra money. That's going to be a place they'll find it.
Which is terrifying. Which is
Yeah,
absolutely horrific because there's millions of people who require the disability payments to live. Like they've built
sure.
their lives around it. They support their kids, their wives, their families on it. Like they've started businesses or are able to keep their businesses afloat because they have the extra grand or two coming in, right? And
Oh
that's
yeah, we
gonna
don't care.
and you're
We don't
pissing
care.
off the old style vets. It's such a bad choice.
We don't care about our soldiers. Once you're
Yeah.
hurt, we only care about you when you're in the game. Then you're a hero when you're in the game. When you're out,
Yeah. The second
you're
you're
a
out,
sucker.
it's like, well, thanks for
Yeah.
playing. Goodbye.
I mean, it's the way it is, though, right? I mean, unfortunately, a huge swath of those soldiers, even with him taking their benefits away, I think will still vote for him. It's the same thing with fucking with union members. Trump's anti-union, and huge swaths of union members all over voted for
He's
this fucking
so
guy.
anti-union and he hates paying people. Like
Yeah.
he didn't even pay people for his venues on his campaign trail a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
bus company that left like 900 Republicans stranded like a mile out in the
Yeah.
desert.
Yeah, there's states he can't go.
Like I
He
don't know how
couldn't
those people
vote.
still paid like still voted for him.
Yeah, that's it. It's like it goes against all logic for people.
But faith isn't about logic. It's about
It's
faith.
not. Well, and that's what I mean. It's like, so 'cause I went out and I did watch a lot of. I tried watching a lot of Fox News stuff, and I did watch his rallies and stuff like that. And I'm like, again, I want to see, what am I seeing here? I want to go in with an open mind, and I want to see, do I see what you're seeing? And I could not. I'm like, this guy is a fucking maniac. He's rambling. His points aren't strong. He's telling you half the time. He's telling you how good he is. Oh, it's the best it's ever been. It's best. That's I hear them say all the time. And like, you
Oh,
think
he
that's a joke that comedians
grandstands
are
on
making?
him on his own relations. Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit. He jacks himself off so hard the entire time. Like that's all it is him telling you how great he is and how great the people are that support him. Once they don't support him, how shitty they are. He's like, my dear friend. It's like he's bragging. He wants to be the fucking popular kid in class. He'll do whatever it takes
Oh
to be
yeah.
that guy. He's telling you all these stories about, oh, this is where I went for summer vacation. You're like, dude, what the fuck?
Honestly, I believe everything in the world right now boils down to the Democratic Party snubbing Bernie Sanders in the primary back in 2016.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like if they would have just let the democratic choices happen and then shake out socialist Bernie, I feel like he would have won, or at least it would have been way closer between what Hillary and Trump was. And then that socialist ideology probably would have carried through into the
Yeah.
next presidency, if even if he didn't get elected. But I feel
They,
like the active Democratic Party taking the choice away from the people is what disillusioned millions upon millions of people.
oh, yeah, they made the mistake because at the time that's when we were the young people.
Hmm.
We were the young angry people, and they made angry, and
Yeah,
and that's at the time. And then I didn't know Trump. Trump was unknown. I'm like, why would I vote for somebody that you given me a choice from? Because I think I still voted for Hillary that year, but I remember a bunch of my friends were very upset and wanted Trump, and a lot of people voted for Trump just to fucking to make the Democrats mad. And we're like, fuck you.
yeah.
You took away our choice. I don't now. Yeah, we didn't think about the repercussions.
Well,
It's
honestly,
more of
I
like
didn't want Hillary. I saw Hillary as the greater evil. Honestly, because I
yeah,
didn't know anything about Trump. I knew he was the apprentice guy. He was on Home Alone, and he seems like a business guy of some sort. That was my understanding of Trump back in 2016.
exactly the great unknown. And they lost the youth vote because of their own arrogance, and that's a big part of it. Is people are talking about like, well, Kamala Harris and all these things. Like, no, at
They
the end of the day,
basically anointed Kamala Harris. They didn't give her a
yeah,
primary. They didn't let
no,
us choose who we
no,
wanted to go up against Trump versus Biden. Like they said this is your choice. And
yeah,
I don't fault people for going, well then I won't vote for her. I never
yeah,
voted for her. I never wanted her.
exactly.
Yeah.
Her like Trump decide, or I mean Biden decided to drop out so late. Selfish. People are like, what a hero he is for dropping out. It's like he dropped out when he knew he couldn't win. Everyone's telling me he couldn't win the second time. He should have done it
And
long ago.
honestly, I still haven't seen Biden, right? Normally you see some type of press release, some type of large scale, the American people, Kamala Harris is lost, or the peaceful. I know he did a peaceful transfer will be happening, but I haven't seen him give any speeches or come out and talk or do anything for a while.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to. I don't know. Whatever he's doing, I hate the man. Just because I hate Trump more doesn't mean I like Joe Biden. He still.
I think that's what
He,
confuses a lot of people for who vote blue, right? No, I
oh
don't
yeah,
like them. I just don't like your guy more.
yeah. It's like, and I hate those people without talking about Trump. Why do you want this person? It's like, what do you? Okay, hey, your least favorite food in the world, or this actual piece of shit. Without talking about the piece of shit, why do you love this food?
You're like,
Right?
come on, come on. This isn't a fair game.
Yeah, what the fuck? I don't like them. I just hate him. He's like, yeah, it's it's stupid. I hate people. That yes,
Well,
wild.
hopefully, hopefully, with Trump in power, we don't see World War III. And that seems like a lower possibility now. Um,
You think World War III is a lower possibility?
yeah, I feel like World War III is a lower possibility.
Ooh,
Distinctly because I feel like if anybody does challenge America, Trump has no problem glassing a country or taking out huge swaths of population. I feel like the world knows that Trump's ethical and moral viewpoint is easily uh, in comparison to like a warlord, basically, where he'd be like, "Yeah, I have no problem dropping a Moab on a community just because they're against us. Oh, those guys are others. We are the righteous, right?" I mean, he already
mhm.
has the faith base behind him. He said he's going to be dictator day one. He said that he'll indict any of his political opponents. Like, I feel like we're much farther away from World War III just because the bad guy has the button.
Maybe. I feel like he is much more easily influenced, though,
Sure.
um, which plays into people very, very hard. And so, I mean, like you're looking at like Israel. Israel is celebrating his win. The Russians are celebrating his win.
Yeah. China came out and said, "Good job, America." That
Yeah,
hurts. That
hurts real
shouldn't
bad.
happen.
Yeah, and these like people that voted for him are like they don't realize they're not in on like you're not in on the joke. you're the joke with us. Like we're all the big joke right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, look, we did it, guys, right? And they're like, they're laughing at you, bud. Like,
They're like, no, we're laughing together, and you have to look at them like, no, where are they
no,
looking? They're looking
ooh,
at you.
yeah,
They're
this is gonna get
laughing
real
at
sad.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's gonna be an interesting next couple years. I don't know. I mean, I guess like I said, initially I was very, very
Despondent.
sad, despondent, angry. It makes me change. Like, I really had to like sit back. That's why I took today off. Is I really, really had to sit back. So I was like, dude, I don't want to fucking help anybody. Like, I don't want to give money anymore. Like, I don't want to. I usually try to volunteer and donate during the holidays. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to help. I don't like no. I feel a fucking alone that these people are elected this monster, and out of spite they did it. It wasn't they didn't run on love. They ran on hate, and it worked.
Yeah, they did. And it usually works. There's a lot of times where, um, like exactly for the reason why you don't want to go out and help is exactly the reason why using hate works. Because the people who use their blood, sweat, and tears, their soul that they put into their community, when they're knocked down and hurt, it hurts, and they don't want to get hurt again. Like the fact that they won in such a decisive way that you don't even want to volunteer to help people in your local community means that they have won a massive moral victory across all of America. A lot of the activists who have seen all of their hard work for the last decade just go up in flames. They're like, why did I do that? Why did I put effort in? Why am I trying to help those in need if this is just what happens? That's
Oh yeah,
exactly what that type of situation feeds off of.
yeah. And I mean, I will regroup. I'll put my head back on track. That's why I told my boss, I was like, this week I'm gonna be slow. I'm probably gonna take a day off. You know, but next weekend I will come back.
And what a
And
privilege you have to be able to do that, right?
yeah, oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, I get the time to pout. And come back, next week and hopefully get my head back on and be like, all right, what do we do from here? How do we, because that I mean that's all I ever wanted to do was help people, right? I don't money's not my big driver. And especially as I get older.
As a note of positivity, that's what RFK is saying. His driving focus is to help people, at least the way he sees that helping people is. Rick Rashami, his Indian guy that he has on his team, says that he's all about helping people. I don't know much about Rick though. He seems like an entity that's been thrown around a lot, and that confuses me. Oh, did you watch Trump's acceptance speech when he came out that day? It was so weird. He was sharing the microphone with like 15 different people, calling them up, having them say stuff. He gave Theon Vaughn a call out. Dana White
Oh,
from the UFC was on stage and he had a whole speech. Like I was watching it and I was like, what is happening here? You should take a minute and watch his little acceptance speech. It was like 10 or 15 minutes, but it was strange. Hopefully, it helps the American people and that we've been wrong this whole time. I just don't
yeah,
think that's true.
I don't think that's right. I mean, I think that's what most people are feeling right now. Is like, well, we're here. There's nothing we can do right now. We're going down the waterfall with
And
people.
that's the difference between Republicans and Democrats, isn't it? We lost. Shit.
I don't feel like storming the Capitol today, dude.
No, I don't feel like overthrowing the government. I don't feel like assassinating anybody. I don't feel like
Yeah,
using direct and determined force to get my way is the right way to do this.
and that's what does make me a little bit proud of this. The more thinking side of the country, I guess, is that there was actually somebody that posted a TikTok about that. Is like, couldn't Joe Biden like
Joe Biden.
use his Joe Biden a better way to go.
That would have been such a good campaign slogan. Oh wow, it's already got the ring to it. Yeah, go ahead.
Talking about Joe Biden because he cannot, presidents are basically immune to shit like that. Like, couldn't he just say, Trump isn't fit to office and then hold another election? And everybody
No.
in the comments was like, no. That's not democracy. The people have spoken. We don't like the result,
Yeah.
but the people have spoken. Like, who am I to tell you that this isn't your guy? This is your guy. I didn't want him.
After
Sucks.
we watched the election, we watched V for Vendetta, because Katie had never seen it before, and she
Oh
was
wow.
like, "Oh, this is scary. How
Yeah.
correlated this is. I don't like that at all." And I was like, "Yep, it's
No.
supposed to take place in 2025." Yeah.
Have you ever? There was a video of a guy going around like a week before the election in power armor. Not power armor. What's the armor the Space Marines wear? Whatever that's called. Basic Space Marine armor,
Oh,
and
sure,
going
I'm with you.
around. And he was saying, "Let's play a game, 40K or real life, or 40K or Project 2025." And it was basically it's like, is this written in the 40K
40K
book?
lore of the Project
And some of the
2025.
shit you're
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? Like you hear it, you're like, man, that's fucked up. It was literally every single one was Project 2025. And he's like, nope. And like and he's asking fans of like 40K. And they're like, that's gotta be 40K. And he's like, wrong again. 2025. Like, oh
Wrong
shit.
again. No, women don't have any rights. Let's take
And then,
away
oh yeah. There was one, I can't remember what it was. There was something about voting rights that they want to take away. And he's like,
appealing the
surprise,
14th Amendment.
is that what he was
Yeah,
like?
they the Project 2025 wants to get 60% of the legislator so that they can appeal the 14th Amendment and make it so women can't have the right to vote.
Amazing.
Right? Isn't it?
Jesus fucking Christ.
I don't
Oh,
think they're going to be able to get that because they have to get a 60% majority in basically everything. But they're a lot closer to that than I would have liked.
uncomfortably close, you would say.
Right. I would say uncomfortably close.
It's so weird to me. It is just so weird to me that so many boys that grow up to be men have so little respect for women. You know what I mean? Like they can't have women that are just friends without them being sexual objects. They can have women in their life they care about. They can't respect a woman's right to say no if they don't like you and in a sexual way. It's so weird to me. Like I don't understand. Like even like me when I look for like an actual partner, like someone I want to date, it's not. I don't like women that need me all the time, or you know what I mean. Like I need women that like to make fun of me, and you know what I mean, give me flack and have their own careers and shit. I couldn't handle someone that's very.
So many men have a fragile masculinity that any type of resistance is a direct challenge to them. And if they
Yeah.
don't win, they're failing.
That fragile masculinity is such a driving force of men in modern society. And it's wild because I'm like what like it's okay to be like I was hanging out with one of my buddies and we were playing volleyball and he was wearing a pink shirt and this other guy was like, why are you wearing a pink shirt? And we thought he was messing with us at first. He's like, oh, I like the color looks good on me, you know. And he goes, dude, my girlfriend will break up with me if I wore some gay shit like that. And like literally, we're like, it's like it was laughing at
You
him.
start looking
Like,
around and you're like, whoa, what just happened? Did we go back
yeah,
20 years? What happened? Yeah.
yeah, I was like, your girlfriend sounds like she sucks. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the other thing. The patriarchy is enforced not only by men, but by women. And I think that's what a lot of like leftists don't understand is a lot of the enforcing of these social norms is done by women, done by the ick factor or whatever it is.
Oh yeah, that's what a real man
Oh
is.
yeah, well, I mean, just based on that, next year, basically all DEI requirements or ideology is going to be disbanded or no longer enforced.
Yeah,
What do you think about all that type of stuff going
horrible,
the way of the dodo bird?
horrifying. People, specifically, it's usually little white ladies that are suing against these things. So, do you know what the 8A program is?
8-8? No,
8A, yeah. So it's a basically
like 8A.
yeah, eight and then an A.
Okay,
It's so when you're trying to win contracts with the federal government, it's one of the programs that you can use, basically to show you as a disenfranchised business and be disenfranchised. It used to be that basically you're a minority-owned business because most minorities, or actually all major minorities in America, it's harder for them to go business just statistically, right?
sure.
So that program is there. So basically, when you apply for that program, you can just say, "Hey, I'm a minority, and I identify, as this, and I fit for the program." Now, there are other ways to be appointed to it too. You can also come from hub zones or very poor areas. You can meet the local, income thresholds. Maybe your parents didn't go to college. But minority is one of the big ones. And some white lady sued and said that's not fair. That's not the way they want it. So now minorities have to go and write and give this big old story. And they made the program is mostly used by minorities to get this standing here and to help them win contracts or get set asides. Now
So
they made
basically, what
it.
it does is it gives them like extra points in the bid war to get a contract or something. Like, how's that
For
work?
some, there are some every now and again, like depending on what department or whatever, they'll have set asides. So these set asides are for you have to have this thing here to bid on it. You know what I mean? So you have to be a minority owned business, or you have to be a woman owned business. You have to be a veteran owned business. They all have their own set aside. So yeah, those are contracts, and if they're not set asides for them, maybe they will give you extra points if you're bidding on them. Because they do on a point system for some of them. It just differs from zone to zone. But basically, some lady sued on the program and said that's not fair. Um, do you know how many contracts that program affected?
Oh boy, you asked it in a silly way, so I'm gonna say 4%.
Whoo! You're very optimistic.
That's
It was like
optimism. I was shooting for the barrel. Oh
it was
no,
like point two.
point two. Oh
It's not.
god.
It's less than 1%. Yeah. And that's what when the lady that presented it, she was a black woman. She's like, we had point two, and they wanted that too. They well,
They
it's
wanted
like
that point. We couldn't even
yeah.
have the point two. Got it. All
And
right.
they also sued in the state of Oregon and the state of Washington to do away with set asides. And they said, okay, no set asides for anybody.
So that's a direct example of how the DEI movement is being pushed aside. And it's
Yes,
directly to stop having minorities and disenfranchised businesses having a leg up on these contracts.
which is these people again stupidity. So statistically, if you want a strong overall community, right? You need the community overall to be strong. So if you have a city that's 60% white people, 30% Latinos, 10% Black, if the only successful people in that town are white people, the community as a whole does worse. Is if you had a proportional representation of successful people, successful businesses, because they tend to put it back into the community, and that community tends to trade with the other. Right, it helps the whole community. So what you need is 60% white business owners. You need 30% Latino business owners. You need 10% Black business owners, and you also need 60% white politicians. You need 30%. It just works best that way for everyone involved. These white
Now,
people are like,
is this accounting for like proper training, proper not ideology, like enforcing the regulations to match the percentage? Would that not have a counter effect if people who are not prepared to be in those positions are thrust into those positions for
oh
like
yeah, yeah,
politics?
it would change. Yeah, absolutely, it would. But I mean, what you're saying though, right? Is so like is white people in the 50s and 40s, and if further on, actually, we'll go to the 60s and 70s.
We
Really,
could go up
really,
to the 90s and the early
yeah,
2000s as well, if we're being
they,
honest.
they put a lot of systems in place to keep minorities out of their club, out of owning businesses. And if you go back to the 40s, they burned things down. In the 60s, they built things to make them that way. More 70s, you're talking about they put policies in place to
Yep.
keep people out of the game. And so people are like, well, why should they get
80s and
because
90s, they used propaganda. Yeah.
propaganda? Yeah. And the white people come and say, well, why do they get these leg ups? Like, because you put the things in place for decades and we're trying to fix it. We're not trying to give anyone an advantage. We're trying to even the board. Like, you know what I mean? It would make
Honestly,
things
it's
better
like
for
they're
everyone.
just releasing the pressure of the boot on their neck a little bit. You know what I
Yeah, just
mean?
a little
They're
bit.
not
Yeah.
even
Look,
helping them all the way up. They're just releasing the pressure a bit.
yeah. And I mean, that is essentially it is, and why, and then the other part of it too is just from a nice standpoint is why would you not want to help those communities, right? Why would you not want communities to be self-sustained?
Well,
If
because
you
you
really
want
want to
them
see
reliant on the greater government. You want the
exactly,
control over them.
yeah, if you really want to see Native American communities succeed, white people can do, or not even just white people, but black people, Latinos, if they will come to Native American communities and they eventually they'll buy some stuff, right? They'll help out, but they're not going to continually. That's not where the money's going to come from. You want actual economic independence. It's going to come from fellow Native Americans. It's going to come from other, and it comes with every race. They come in, they'll buy the stuff from you continuously. They'll shop at your stores continuously. They'll give money to charities that are that way continuously, and that's how those systems work. And they will help, and they're going to be less reliant on government assistance. Helps everybody out. Everybody wins. You do things that way.
Because then you're spending less of my tax dollars to help out these people because they're able to generate their own form of wealth.
Exactly, and so it's overall better for every community,
Well,
for the
that's
economy
going
alike.
away next year.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
It's
and
yeah.
they'll want it to go away. There's going to be a fight for that at the state level coming. And
I
they'll
mean, liberal states will keep it. Every other state won't.
Yeah. Oh well, every other state still doesn't keep it now. So like I work in Oregon, Washington, Idaho. I get almost no work done in Idaho because they suck. They 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 don't want to send any representatives. They don't want to no procurement officers. They're very rude on the phone. They don't have any DEI or inclusion, or they have no minority representation within their like city council or anything like that. There's no one to talk to. When I called, I think I told you, when I called Boise, I want to talk to somebody over there. I'm like, hey, is there any department I can talk to? We want to come to a training that would be, inclusive, more Native American focus. And the guy that answered was a gay guy. He's very gay. He told me he was gay and he had a very gay accent. He's like, he goes, honestly, dude, he goes, I wish, because there's nothing here. They don't like our kind. It's like,
Wow.
oh, and I was like, that's disheartening. So I don't think anything will really on the state level. I don't think anything's really going to change. Like Idaho, even with a Biden or whatever whoever's there, it didn't change anything. They want to be racist. They want to think everything's just handed to people. Cool. Your economy fucking sucks. Like you're also you're in the Northwest with Oregon and Washington. Washington's number 12 in education. Oregon's number 13. Our economies are also about that same pace. Idaho drops down to like in the 30s. I'm like, and you're
Ooh.
with us. What's different? It's you fucking
It's your
suck.
ideologies.
Yeah, you're stupid. You don't know how to spend your money. Your ideology's backwards. You could be with Oregon and Washington and be really good. You could be the third, the youngest brother. You know what I mean? It's
Well, the Pacific Northwest is all about, peace, love, and health. And I don't know much about Idaho, but it seems like a mountain desert area who's just
yeah,
very isolationist about their peoples.
100%. There's a little bit in Boise, but
And
even
the
Boise
Greater
is
Idaho
mostly
movement.
the
Crazy.
great. Oh God, yeah. Go on. Go, yeah,
Take
we don't.
them. Take Eastern
Yeah,
Oregon.
you don't do anything for our tax dollars, anyways. Get fucked. You want to leave? Go to Idaho.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
as
I
a
know.
kid, I've dreamed of having the United States map change in some way. If it happens because Oregon gets cut in half, I'll be furious, but it'll be neat. It'll be really neat.
Yeah, but saying that though, I'm like, hey, yeah, if you want that part of Oregon, then we want that chunk of Boise too. We want the Nez Perce Reservation. You
Oh,
know?
you mean giving land back to the Native Americans? No. That'll
Yes.
never
No.
happen. What is it? South Dakota had that huge thing where they like half of South Dakota is native land now.
Yeah.
But the Fed government is basically going, sure, but we still have full jurisdiction throughout all the places where we used to have jurisdiction. So
Yeah,
no active change is happening.
they're trash people.
The Feds? Fair.
Yeah.
Agreed.
What are you gonna do? You know? So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see as I get more involved with government types, and we'll see how things go. Uh, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how the world works because I'm getting right now. I'm getting a small picture of it. You see how things work. And part of what keeps me going though, and makes me know that not everything's all doom and gloom, is funding can be changed, right? Obviously, but the people put in charge of places also changes. So you can change the rules, you can change legislation, you can change whatever you want, but it doesn't change people ideology, right? So like the guy in Multnomah County. They sued, so there'd be no set asides, right? So they can't do set asides, not for minorities, not for anybody. So they can't do it. But what he did is said, hey, he goes, I can't do set asides legally. What I can do is I can prefer. So when they hire prime contractors, it said they will give you uh, more preference as if you are hiring a certain percentage, at least 12% minority owned. Uh,
So it's a set aside with a different name.
no, no, no. They're essentially incentivizing prime contractors to use
Ah, okay.
minority subcontractors. So it's a way to get more minority businesses within the government to get government dollars without having to set aside do a set aside. And so what I mean is this guy is a very progressive dude that said, hey, fuck you and your rules. I'm still going to do what I can to help. The lady that leads the IBR project that has $300 million over 12 years, very similar. She is actively like, hey, we need more inclusion. We are the people that are winning these contracts are, it's like 95% white. And I know that's not because there are no minority businesses that can do this.
And
We
you
need more
know it's not
representation.
because they're just the best for that particular job 95% of the time. It's because of preordained bias, basically, that's
Exactly. Yeah,
keeping them
exactly.
from success.
There's no inclusion. Yeah. And so so people like this in these powerful positions that people don't know are powerful. You know what I mean? Like the guy that does the procurement manager from Multnomah County, no one knows his fucking name, but he's very powerful and he can make a lot of change for people in the greater Portland area.
Mm-hmm.
The lady that's doing the IBR project, no one knows her name either, but she is swinging around $300 million. You know what I mean? And everyone's like, and those will
Well, that's
really
the
help
thing. Money's
communities.
power. If you got that type of money to be able to throw around through the government or whatever else it is,
Mhm.
then you're going to have a voice, regardless if
Yep,
people know your name or not.
exactly. And so those ones, so stuff like that, I think will still be good. People will still be able to make money, um, and and hopefully, get good jobs, and
Well,
so
a
and
lot of these construction jobs are so reliant on foreign resources for building.
yeah,
So every construction job in 2025, 2026 is going to be 20% more expensive, if not higher than 20% more expensive. Because the people who are buying the lumber from China, Russia, Europe, or whatever are going to have to bump up the price of that by 20%. And then you, as the builder or seller, are going to have to bump up the cost of your own creations by even more than 20% because you want the profit, right?
yeah, it's gonna get silly. Yeah, housing prices are gonna go up. They're already
I'm so happy I
um
bought my house when I did.
oh dude, housing what is it called? You saw the stock market took a big bump, right?
Huge bump,
Um,
yeah.
Huge bump. You know what area of companies did not? It actually did a
What?
huge loss. Uh, house Companies that supply house building materials.
Ah, the actual
Yeah,
raw material people. Okay.
yeah, yeah. So the people that are supplying stuff over here are taking a huge hit right now. It's because they know they're already projecting for tariffs. Whether Trump sticks to it or not, they have to prepare for it, and it's fucking with them. And they're already preparing for it too, and is increasing house prices. House prices are already going to start increasing because of the fear of uh,
Supply.
minorities.
Yeah.
Yeah, to build the houses. So they're already scared, and they're like, and they don't, and people don't know. We don't. None of us know. It's like, are they going to come to work still? Because they're scared to be of immigration, and we don't know because that's what happened in Florida. And so there's a lot of unknowns right now, and it's already fucking with that. Just the unknowns are fucking with the housing prices.
And imagine
And
you're like halfway through a large scale construction unit. Say you're building an apartment complex or whatever, and then ICE comes through, and your friend, uh, David, who's been living with you for 20 years, all of a sudden gets picked up by ICE because they were immigrated, but they did it through a non official channel nowadays, or because of Trump's policies, they're no longer considered a nationalized citizen and are just shipped back anyways. Like that's that's
yeah,
very
bye.
possible to happen.
Yeah, bye. They're
Bye,
gone. Here goes
all over the
there goes your
place,
yeah, exactly. And so it's yeah, housing prices are
skyrocketing.
yeah probably gonna get worse. The interest rates are falling, which is also gonna make it worse. Which
Oh,
would
I
normally be good.
guarantee BlackRock will no longer be blocked from mass buying single family homes. I
Yeah,
bet that's
that
going
was
to go full throttle.
she. So Lena Khan was another one that was fighting that with these companies. So rental companies that had that basically that were colluding, using one app to track their prices and not fight with each other. Lena Khan was the one that was fucking with them. Same thing with grocery stores. Same thing with airlines. All those companies that were basically colluding to fuck with prices, and she was stopping them from doing it, are all going to be unleashed again.
They're going to
Now they can
collude
raise the prices
away.
to whatever they want. Yeah, is hey, no one's in their way. Thank God she's gone. Yeah, that's another overreaching thing people don't think about. That's going to be effect. That's going to have an effect on us.
All right.
All right.
I'm
Yeah.
starting to get pretty hungry.
Yeah, I know. I need to get going too.
All right. Perfect
Uh,
timing then.
yeah, yeah. Good question. Have you written anything or anything recently?
No,
Yeah,
I'm so sorry. I've lost so much steam with that project.
yeah, I
I think
know.
it's fun. I think it's interesting. I think I just lost a lot of interest in like doing stuff for it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, that's fine. I get it. Uh, how is your
Yeah.
streaming going though? Still
Streaming's
going
going
good?
really good. Up to 110 followers on Twitch, up to almost 60 on YouTube, which is decent. It slowed down recently, which don't know if I need to switch something up or not, but it's going good. I'm getting more and more reoccurring viewers, so that's nice.
Hmm.
So it's slowly ticking up.
Good, good. And then your last thing, you and Katie, congratulations. I haven't actually talked to
Yay!
you since
Yes,
that
yes,
happened.
we
Yeah.
got engaged. Oh, and Katie's sister is pregnant, and we just
Oh wow.
went to her gender reveal. It's going to be a girl. That's pretty
Nice.
awesome.
Okay. Well, that's good. Hell yeah. Yes. Have you guys set a date for your wedding?
We were thinking this coming October in 2025, but we might shift it to 2026 because of money and how everything's going in the world.
Okay.
We'll see what we choose though. We might stretch it out a little bit more so we have a little bit more money for the not only
Yeah.
for the wedding but also for the honeymoon. Because we were thinking
Yeah.
about going to Yellowstone for like a week or two and just really
Okay.
enjoying that and hiking in Yellowstone and fishing in Yellowstone and all that.
Yeah, that's fair. Cool. Well, yeah, man. I know I still gotta get over to you in person. I still have some gifts for you guys.
Oh, neat.
Um,
Yes. Yeah,
go
we
ahead
haven't
and give
seen each
you.
other since Katie's grandpa passed away.
Yeah, yeah. That was a while ago.
Yeah.
But all right,
Feels
man.
very similar, but
Oh,
very
I
close
know,
by.
right?
But
Nothing changes.
yeah.
I know. I might be moving. Like I said, I'm moving in January. I don't know where to yet, but somewhere
Well, I know
out in the
wherever you
ether.
go, you'll be successful.
Well, thank you, Jonah.
All
You
right.
too. All right, later, brother.
Goodbye, my
Talk to you
friend.
later.
Till next time.
Bye.
All right. Thank you guys so much for coming in, hanging out, having a good time. This will conclude our stream. Thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. You're awesome. All right. Till next time, my friends. Goodbye. End stream.